A new feature in Cubase 8 Pro is the render in place function that many users have been asking for quite a long time. I'll quickly talk through it here so you get an idea of what it's about and how it'll help you. Essentially, render in place allows you to render your source material to output files to use in other Cubase projects or even outside of Cubase. Now, I purposely said render your source material rather than audio material because the function works with more than only your project's audio files. You can use RIP to render audio tracks, instrument tracks, audio events or audio tracks, MIDI parts on instrument tracks, range selections on multiple audio or instrument tracks. Now, I know established users at this point might be thinking it's just another name for exporting, but it is more than that, as we're about to see. Just before we dissect the available options, can I suggest that in use, your workflow, if it's anything like mine, will probably be to start by specifying in the render setup dialog what occurs to our project source files, be they audio, MIDI, etc., and from there what we want the result to be. You could state that your source material gets removed after RIP occurs, and the resulting rendered file contains channel settings or even complete signal paths that include any group or send settings used within the source material. Finally, your rendered file gets saved to your project's default folder, or, if preferred, to the folder specified in the render setup dialog. Okay, now that's the background or the theory. Let's look at the RIP dialog. First of all, let's go up to Edit, down to Render in Place, and then you can choose if you want to render. But we're not going to here, we need to set this up. So I'll choose Render Setup. As a result, this dialog opens with these two tabs, Render and File Settings. Here within the File Settings tab, we can choose our bit resolution from what at present is set to my project bit resolution of 32-bit, but of course you can choose between 16 and 24. Then you would probably choose your path where these resulting files will be placed on your hard drive. I'm going to accept the default, which is my project audio folder, but of course I could choose if I wanted to send it somewhere else. Anyway, back to the Render tab. It's here that we ask the question, how do we want our resulting files to be rendered? As separate events, as block events, or as one event? Now I'm going to put some information on your screen so that you can read how these differ. It'll save you some time. That said, you might need to pause this screen recording whilst you read these. Anyway, we now choose from 4 radio button options how we want the resulting rendered files to be. I think the text pretty much indicates these 4 options, but if you are unsure, as you choose, roll over the text and a pop-up informs you exactly what will transpire. For example, with Dry, the first one, Transfer Channel Settings, here the pop-up informs us that all the settings from the source will be transferred to new tracks, including automation. The audio file is dry on our hard disk. If we choose the second one, Channel Settings, well, the rendered files include insert effects, EQ, and channel strip settings. Okay, so as I say, I'm sure you don't need me to roll over C and D and read out the pop-up. Okay, now notice this checkbox option too. You would check in here, if you prefer this choice, mix down to one track. What this does is create a single audio file from multiple selected tracks, events or parts, from different tracks, or from instrument/MIDI tracks with multiple outputs. As the checkbox indicates, everything that you include will mix down to one resulting track. Just below, you can name the render here. It's untitled at present. You'll need to click to unlock and fill in the name field. I'll leave it as it was at the default. I'll lock again. Here, you'll notice the tail size is off. You can click to change from off either to seconds or bars and beats. Then moving down, where it says mute source tracks at the moment, well, this is the default, but if you click, you can choose from keep your source tracks unchanged, mute the source tracks, which is what we've got, disable source tracks, or remove source tracks. So after the RIP process runs, what do you want to do with the original tracks? Again, textually, I think they pretty much indicate what they'll do. Okay, and then finally, there's this checkbox to hide your source tracks. You might have chosen disable or mute source tracks above, and rather than have the project panel cluttered up, you can hide them, i.e. the source tracks. And as you can see, all your source tracks will be hidden, and if you want to show the tracks again, activate them within the Visibility tab. Okay, so that's Cubase 8 Pro's new function, RIP, or Render in Place as it's fully known. As I say, many people have been asking for this over the years, and now that we've talked through it, I think you'll see it is a little bit more than just exporting your audio.